What's up guys? So thanks for choosing to watch another Dougsterbob complete bike tournament video. Today we've got a couple really good bikes going against each other, and they've moved along pretty far in the tournament. But before we get into this, if this is your first time watching one of these videos, you need to stop right now, go to the video that I have that talks about the whole tournament, the rules, how I come up with the scores and everything like that. It's crucial for you to understand all of this before you watch this video because it's not really going to make very much sense. I mean, there's a lot of good information, but you need to watch that. Otherwise, you'll be lost. You'll be like, what? What's a 27 mean? So anyway, go do that. For those of you who know what's going on, let's get right into the video. Now the two bikes going head to head here are the SUBROSA LETUM and the KINK Cloud. I love both of these bikes and they do make an appearance on my free BMX bike recommendations, depending on exactly what you're looking for. But the SUBROSA LETUM, it beat the SUBROSA Malum and moved on forward. It is a $529 bike. The KINK Cloud is a $600 bike. It's right there at that top of the price range, but it's one of KINK's second best bike in their 2021 line. They both have a varying Dougsterbob score. The LETUM is a cheaper bike with a higher Dougsterbob score, and the Cloud only has a 110 for a $600 bike. But as you guys know, the score and the price doesn't necessarily correlate to which bike moves forward. At the end of the video, I asked myself, if I had $600, which bike would I pick based on the value and the price to quality ratio? And then that's the bike that ends up moving on. So the winner of this is going to go on and face the 2021 Sunday X. I'm really excited to see which bike it's going to be, and then that's going to be the final, the Sunday X. Before we get too far into it, I want you guys to head down in the comments and let me know which bike you think is going to win, which bike is going to move on to the next round. If you are correct, you'll be a winner with that bike. If you're wrong, you're going to be a loser. So let's get right into it. I want to run through some of the important info about both of these bikes. The SUBROSA LETUM, like I said, it's a $530 bike. It has 4 pegs, 4 hub guards. It has a free coaster. It has full chromoly frame, forks, and bars, double wall rims, and it weighs 29.1 pounds. This is a good list of good things that I look for in a bike because it's really important to have a good core foundation, like the full chromoly, the double wall rims. However, 29 pounds is very heavy. We were talking about that on the live last week. Somebody asked, what's a good weight for your bike? I always say people shoot for about 25 pounds and under, and this is way over. However, that does include the pegs and the hub guards, so keep that in mind. Now the KINK Cloud is also a full chromoly bike with double wall rims. It weighs almost 2 pounds less, but it only has 2 pegs and 2 hub guards, and then it also comes with a free coaster. So as you can tell, neither of these bikes are going to be very good for dirt riding, but we'll get into the scores right now. So the first thing I look at is the style score or the look score. To me, it's how visually appealing is this bike? I think the SUBROSA LETUM looks sick, and it comes in 2 different color options, which is pretty important to me. The KINK Cloud only comes in 1 color option, and it's ugly. I think it's ugly. You might disagree. If you do, roast me in the comments, but I don't think it looks very good. So for the visually appealingness, the SUBROSA LETUM looks good. Everything on both of these bikes are fully customizable, which is important, because it's important for you to be able to add a part that correlates to, like, that resonates with you, right? I don't know, maybe you want purple grips. It's cool to be able to add purple grips or purple pedals or a green wheel. I don't know, whatever it may be. Each of these bikes is fully customizable, which is very important. The LETUM just looks a lot better than the Cloud. Now in the street section, both of these bikes are more for street riding. They've got pegs, they've got hub guards, they've got free coasters, and those are all of the things I look at when I'm judging the street score. I also look at how strong is the bike and how likely is it to hold up to some gnarly street riding, like Sean Burns. You know, if he's gonna hop on the bike, what's gonna happen? And one thing I do want to point out here, I mean, I could talk about this in quality, but the KINK Cloud has a good amount of aftermarket parts. They have some KINK and some Mission aftermarket parts, where the SUBROSA doesn't particularly have as many aftermarket parts, and that's kind of what makes up that price difference. But let's roll right into the park section. Neither of these bikes are for park riding. Like I say in all the videos, I have park specific bike reviews. Check those out because these bikes just aren't it. They're going to be more for a street rider. And the LETUM scored an 8 and the KINK Cloud scored a 12. The reason for that difference is the KINK Cloud has a steeper head tube angle, making it a little more responsive and a little more snappy. It has a longer chainstay, but that snappy head tube angle is going to make spins, nose manuals, and things like that. In park, you want a more snappy and responsive bike. I also look at, does it have a gyro, which neither of these bikes do, and the KINK Sever tires are pretty solid. They're going to roll very smoothly in the park with minimum rolling resistance. So that's why this one got a little bit better. But like I said, neither of these are really for park, so I would not recommend getting these if you're a park specific rider. Now in the dirt section, we've got 7 for the KINK Cloud and 11 for the SUBROSA LETUM. The reason for that is the LETUM is a little bit more of a mellow geometry. So it gets a little bit of that price difference. I think personally, because of that geometry, the LETUM's going to feel a little more controlled and a little more smooth when going at high speeds on the dirt jumps. But do not get this bike for dirt riding. It is not a bike for dirt, and neither is the KINK Cloud. Because of the responsiveness that helped it score higher in the park, that's what lost it some points in the dirt section. I always want to touch on this. Both of these bikes have free coasters, and free coasters are a bad idea for park riding because if you need to pedal and get speed, you want something with instant engagement. You want to be able to pedal down and get that instant engagement and get cruising really fast so that you can clear the next jump. Free coasters have slack and they will totally make it really hard to do that. They will not give you the speed you need. So stay away from these bikes for dirt. They didn't score very high anyway. Now in the quality section, both of these bikes are the same. They both got a 25. And what I'm looking for is, does it have full chromoly, frame, forks, and bars? Does it have double wall rims? And does it have aftermarket parts? These bikes are both full chromoly frame, forks, and bars, and they're not aftermarket chromoly. So if they were like, let's say the KINK Cloud was actually Travis Hughes' signature frame, this would get a lot more because that's an aftermarket frame. There's a whole nother level of craftsmanship that goes into those frames. This is just a complete full chromoly frame, so it's not going to be as good as those aftermarket ones. And same with this one. You know, they're pretty equal in terms of quality. And now that brings us to the overall Dougsterbob score. The LETUM got a 123 because it had a little bit better in the dirt and a lot better in the street. Those extra pegs and hub guards really helped it out. It also looks a little better. So this one scored a lot higher. The KINK Cloud only got a 110, and you know, it's a more expensive bike. So before I get into it and say which bike I would buy with my $600 and move one on forward, I want to describe who each bike is for. The LETUM is one of the only bikes you can get right out of the box and have a sprocket with a bash guard, have 4 pegs, have 4 hub guards, and just get into really crazy in-depth street riding right away. So the LETUM makes it on a lot of my free bike recommendations for a mid-level rider who is looking to focus on street, and they have a relatively low budget. You could get bikes similar right out the box like this, but they're closer to $800 to $1,000. This one's very affordable for what you're getting. So if you're a mid-level rider and you want a complete bike and just want to shred the streets, the LETUM is for you. The KINK Cloud, on the other hand, is for someone who wants to be a little more well-rounded because the street score is not incredibly through the roof. The aftermarket parts are a little better quality, but the bike is a lot more expensive. So if you're someone who likes to ride street, you have a little bit more money than the people who buy the LETUM, and you like to dabble a little bit in park, the KINK Cloud is going to be a good choice for you. It's a pretty solid bike and it's a little more well-rounded than the Cloud. Keep in mind though, if you did want something with 4 pegs, Getting the Cloud and then upgrading and getting extra pegs is going to cost you a lot of money, whereas if you get the LETUM, you don't have to pay out of pocket for some extra pegs. All right, so I have $600. Which bike am I going to buy, and which bike is going to move on to the next round? You know, I'm actually gonna move on the SUBROSA LETUM. I would spend my $600 on the LETUM, and instead of spending every penny I have on the KINK Cloud. The reason for that is the LETUM is a very solid bike in terms of quality. Both bikes are very, very similar. This one's significantly cheaper. It comes with the pegs, comes with the hub guards, and if you only want to grind on one side, like, take the pegs and hub guards off. If you don't want to grind at all, take them off. It's better that it does come with those parts. And like I said, the quality is very similar. You can get a few extra aftermarket parts on this one, but you buy the bike for $600, you pay tax, you pay shipping, like you're looking at over $700 by the time you actually get this bike. And if I really had a cap on the budget, which this is all hypothetical, obviously, I imagine that I would buy it as long as it's not over 600, but in real life terms, this bike's gonna cost a good amount more, and this one would come in closer to 600, and you're getting so much more with it. To be honest, I'm not a huge SUBROSA fan just because I don't think they're doing a whole bunch. They have cool colorways and that's about it, but this bike really does stand out to me because of how pinpoint accurate it is for its target audience. It's designed perfectly for, like, you can visualize the guy that would buy this. I love street. I want 4 pegs. I want free coaster. Like the perfect person this bike is for. And it wouldn't be me, but hypothetically, my $600 would go to the LETUM, and the LETUM's going to move on to the next round. The KINK Cloud is going to lose, which is a surprise that it's the more expensive bike doesn't always win. So yeah. Now, I need to remind you, if you liked either of these bikes, I have really in-depth reviews on both of them. The quality might not be the best on some of them, but now we got the camera, everything's upgraded. Check out the really in-depth reviews on these if you're curious. And if you're not curious, hop over, check out the full-length video of the tournament. I have every single bike running through the tournament, and it's a very long video, so grab some popcorn, grab some soda, hang out, watch that long video, and see which bike makes it all the way to the end. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you come hang out with me on the live to ask your BMX questions. I love doing that every week. The only way though for you to get notified is by subscribing and hitting the bell so that YouTube will tell you when I go live. Hopefully we see you there, and let me know, do you agree with moving the LETUM forward, or would you have picked the KINK Cloud? Leave it in the comments. I'm curious to hear from you. Have a good rest of your day.